because you have to be open and flexible to all different types of people and venues for learning and content. And if you're not flexible, if you just are tunnel vision and see it that it's got to be one way, you're not open to learning, from others or learning new things. So I think you can't just have it set in your head that this is the way we've always done it, so we're just going to keep doing it that way. Again, the world is changing so quickly that you have to be open to change. And I think that if you're not going to keep learning. Regardless of what stage you're at, if it's early in your career or mid-career or in retirement, if you want to have a satisfying life, you've got to be continuing to learn. I see people even, later on in their life and, maybe they're retired from work and they just do the same things every day and their life really does not seem very fulfilled. And then I see other people, I'll give an example again, my dad retired almost 2 years ago, and since retirement, he's been consulting, he went and got another certification, he's continuing to learn. And so, yes, it's nice to be retired and get your pension or whatever else you may be getting, and not have to worry so much about money, but it's also, I couldn't imagine just sitting around and watching, reality TV all day. My son is 2, and I learn a lot from him every day too. I definitely think that flexibility is something I learned by having a toddler. You learn that you can't control everything and you need to work on less sleep and be open to what are the things you want to have an argument about and what are the things you don't want to fight about. And if he's not going to eat his spinach, you know what, it's really not that big a deal in the grand scheme. But I think that you continue to, even with him, I make sure that, he's going to different programs already at 2 years old because I want him to learn teamwork, so he plays soccer, and I want him to learn how to draw, so he goes to an art class, and I want him to learn, how to interact with other kids, so he goes to music class. Those are the kind of things that I want to make sure that I'm instilling those kind of values in him from the get-go. And even when we're on the weekends, I make sure that, some people would say overscheduled, but, I make sure that we're always doing something to keep him engaged. He's not just going to sit and watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse all day long. I think that I've learned that you shouldn't be narrow-minded when you're making choices and making decisions. Sometimes we think that there's one path we should follow, or we've got a lot of experience in one thing, so we should just stick with that. And I think what I've learned recently is just because you've done something really well for the past 5-10 years doesn't mean you can't do other things too. It doesn't mean that you can't cast a wider net and be more open to learning even newer things. And it's sometimes scary, I'll tell you, as I mentioned earlier, I built learning functions now twice from the ground up. It was very scary when I first came in there. Of course, I came in with the confidence and said, I'm your person, I can do this, I can absolutely, and on my inside voice was saying, oh my God, are you really gonna be able to do this? And what if you don't? And what if you crash and burn? Of course, when you do it, then it's that self-satisfaction. It's like, oh, I actually did it. But I think, even now, I'm still learning to take more risks. I think I've taken a good amount, but then I think I got to a point where I was like, oh, I don't need, everything's running smoothly, I don't need to take any more risks. And then I'm like, no, but you don't feel as satisfied if you're not continuing to try new things and push yourself. And so I think what I learned recently is, you can go outside the box even more than what you've focused on. My focus has been, like I said, primarily on executive development, talent development, high potentials. Succession planning is a newer area for me, so learning about that. Right now a new training that I'm working on is compensation training. I've never designed compensation training before. I've never taught compensation training before, but that's something, that's new to me, and it was a little scary to be the most green person in those meetings, but I'm like, well, it's something that's good for me to understand and learn how we pay people. It goes hand in hand with rewards, with performance, and I focus on the performance side, so now let's look at, are we recognizing people in a monetary way as well?
Hi, I'm Russell Sarder, Chairman and CEO of Netcom Learning. Netcom Learning's purpose is to promote the values of lifelong learning. The moment we think we know it all, we stop growing. develop the passion for learning, be a lifelong learner.